You don't want us to see what they're talking about.
All right. I've got live on YouTube going, so keep that in mind that you are recording right now.
Is the auditor going to be on Zoom or is he going to be there physically?
He's going to be on Zoom.
Okay.
Let me check on something in the courtroom and I'll be right back.
Oh, you're fine.
Yes.
I'm good. You're fine. Do whatever you need to do.
Jason, how's this mic? Can you hear this one?
Yes, ma'am. Loud and clear.
Okay, that's where Mike sits. So that's awesome.
The judge's seat is really, really dark.
Yeah, I know. I don't know that there's anything I can do about that, though.
Okay.
Good. Technical difficulties, Mike. Does not want to read that.
Kick it.
No.
Do something.
You might just not have a projection, but I got the mics working. So you should be able to, no big picture. But everyone that's logged on will be able to see.
Just can't see me.
Well, because you're not in front of a screen.
I'll get that for you, obviously.
Yeah. But I want to be able to see you. So either you or Robert probably needs to sit in front of that
Set one.
in there and the computer.
Okay.
What would y'all rather?
Then. You see here,
Yeah.
Trina, can you hear me? Jason, anybody?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be back in here because there's people that I'll have to let in, but I'm going to run downstairs and stuff for y'all to sign. And I can rename it to you if you want to be in here.
Yeah, I think I don't have a problem. I mean, here, I'll be here.
You're not as loud on that computer,
Me?
yeah,
Okay.
as you are in the courtroom.
Well, the courtroom, I've got the big mics going in here. I just have the mics on the system going.
Okay,
I'll turn it up a little bit and see if that helps. Okay?
that's good.
Morning, Jason, how are you?
I'm good, you?
Left-handed.
You are?
Are you right or left-handed? This mouse is gonna set up as a left-handed mouse, so if you try to work the mouse, it's gonna mess you up.
Opposite? Are you getting stuff? I'll say it. It's too bright. They have what?
I said, you're gonna get stuck with me.
Well, good.
Because I have this-
Well, get behind me. Look over my shoulder.
So, oh, you're
No,
fine.
that's what you do. I said over here.
No, it's good. I just needed to hit admit, and now they're gonna be joined and everything will be good. I'm just kind of listening for any issues. That's the auditor, and then that Galaxy is probably Jed.
Jed at home?
Yep. That's. I'm expecting that Eagle to get on. I think they'll be here.
Here.
Good morning, Cheryl.
Morning, how are you?
Okay.
She's been in Jason's office.
The microphones are all working,
It looks real nice.
including the one, here.
Okay.
Yeah, Sonia's doing something, she'll be able to fix
I was just checking.
it. Okay.
But the last one,
Yeah,
Good morning.
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 Okay. Okay, fix tonight.
You just didn't want to join us?
This was a way for me to get him in front of the camera without
Okay,
getting the
well,
feedback.
yeah, give him his choice.
I did.
Okay,
And he said he would do it from home, but he has a hard time hearing the,
me too.
so the main concern is hearing you. He said, I can't hear Carolyn.
Well, yeah, tell him, yeah, this is a new day. We have a microphone on Carol.
That's unusual, probably.
It's working. Yes.
So far, so good.
Yeah, I heard Carolyn talking.
And in addition to seeing each other this way, it is also streaming to YouTube. So to the extent anybody out there in the public is either watching or wishes to go back and look at this in the future, it's out there.
We just pray that we're not like Dallas ISD this last week. They had some pornography come across the screen while they were in their Zoom meeting.
Yeah, if the recommended process for that is for us not to put our Zoom link out there electronically, where
Yeah.
somebody can do a cut and paste. That's why it's printed on the bottom of the agenda. And then that's posted publicly, but it's a PDF. So somebody can't just do a cut and paste and doesn't do the pornography. Makes it a little more difficult.
Right.
So if somebody asks you for the Zoom link, rather than text it to them, it might be better to refer them to the agenda. Are we not going to use the projector?
No, that was the, because I have to bring the other laptop in and that's the feedback.
I see.
That was the either
Okay,
pictures or.
okay.
Oh,
Robert Hall just joined us. Robert, the mic in front of you is live, so you can, whatever you say, people will hear. You're not seeing the pictures unless you see it here,
What is it?
but the courtroom cameras are streaming to YouTube. So you're in the official video and on the public record. So with Commissioner Hall here, we have Commissioner Hall and myself and Carolyn Foster present. We have Commissioner Wright, Commissioner Williams, and Commissioner Guerin attendance via YouTube. So that is 100% of the court. We also have County Attorney Gerald Hale, the County Auditor from Eckert Associate Wayne Barr. We have, looks like Deputy Green from the Sheriff's Department and Treasurer Trina Busby. So with that, and having 9 o'clock, I'll call the meeting to order and ask that everybody mute the phone. We will stand briefly for a pledge of allegiance and the prayer and then get on with our business. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commissioner Williams, would you lead us in prayer?
Father, we humbly come to you today and ask that you continue blessing over Mills County. Father, bless this land with some rain for our needed farmers and ranchers and for the county. And Father, thank you for protecting us over our county during this troubling times with this COVID-19 virus. Dear Father, be with us today as we do the business of Mills County. In your son's name, we pray. Amen.
Amen. The item 2 on our agenda is minutes of April 27th, which were in your package. Anybody have any questions or corrections on the minutes? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion.
Motion that we approve the minutes as written.
I'll second it.
Okay. Commissioner Wright has moved approval. Commissioner Williams has seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Signify by raising your hand for the camera, please. Aye. That's unanimous approval. Audience with individuals. Do we have anyone from the public that has signed up to speak, Carolyn, or that is online? Having no audience with individuals, I'm going to take some liberties with the order since we have Mr. Barr here from Eckerd, and move directly to item 5, which is a presentation of the county's annual audit report, which was prepared by Eckerd and Company and previously presented in writing to the committee, to the court. But I asked Mr. Barr to speak briefly about it, to be available to answer questions. Mr. Barr.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, good deal. So I first want to say thank you for giving me some liberties back when y'all approved the audit back in, I guess maybe February or whatever. I had some back surgery, and so I was not able to travel, do anything. And then, of course, with the virus situation, we pretty well been locked down. So in regards to the audit itself, Judge Smith asked me to go over a few things in regards to the audit. Judge Smith, do you want me to go touch on fund balance, or do you want me to just touch on the things that you and I visited about last week?
My suggestions were what I sent you an email, but you're obviously, as the auditor, you're free to go wherever you would like, and I'm sure the commissioners may have questions as we go.
Okay, very good. So do y'all have a copy of the audit report in front of you?
Yes, I do.
I do.
So if you turn over, and I'm going to refer to my other screen because I've got some other stuff over here. So if you return over to, there's a first letterhead page about 1 or 2 pages in. It says Independent Auditor's Report. So basically, this is our auditor's opinion of the financial statements of Mills County as of September 30, 2019. And I'll call your attention to that second paragraph, which says management's responsibility. So what this basically means here is that these financial statements are the responsibility of management. The second paragraph says auditor's responsibility. Our responsibility is to express an opinion. And then last paragraph towards the bottom of that page is that these financial statements are prepared fairly in all material respects. So it's a good, what we call a good, clean opinion. Flip on over to page 3, if you will. 3 through pages 3 through 7 are what we call management's discussion and analysis. And basically this is a synopsis, if you will, of all the financial statement information that's in the financial statements. But I'm not going to spend any time here. This is for your reading at your own leisure. So page 8 is what we call a statement of net position. Now this presents all of the assets, capital assets, debt of the county all in one financial statement. So you have your assets at the top, liabilities towards the middle, and net position at the bottom. And then the next page is your revenues and expenses of the county. Again, all of the funds of the county incorporated into one financial statement. The most important probably statement is on pages 10 and 13. Page 10 being your, what we call the balance sheet for your governmental fund, so that the first column, 2 numbers from the bottom, your fund balance for your general operating fund is 1.568 million. And then of course you have your road and bridge fund, law enforcement fund, and then all of your other funds combined into one financial. And then page 13, again, is that same type of scenario of the revenues and expenditures, again, by column, general fund, road, bridge, law enforcement, other, total to the far right on page 14. And I'm hitting highlights, so if any time you stop me, if you have any questions, please do. Page 16 is what we call fiduciary funds. Tax assessor collector, the county district clerk, things like that are reported in this financial statement. All right. Beginning on 17, we start here with the standard footnote information related to the county. The first part of that, the first 3 or 4 pages, is standard footnote information. We get over on to page 22. We have a disclosure here about the fair market value of the treasury bills that were held by the county as of September 30. And there's a statement in the back of the financial statements that shows where these are held. What funds? Okay, page 24. This is typically a very important statement or a footnote disclosure. It's your capital assets held by the county as of September 30. Now keep in mind, this statement represents capital assets at historical cost. So it is not market values, it's historical costs. What you paid for it, however many years ago, is what's going to be reflected here. The bottom of that page, the next page, 24 and 25, is some capital lease disclosure information. Bottom of 25 is your debt related to the senior citizens building, or senior center building, if you will. And then the top of 26 is your long-term debt, which are your bonds that were outstanding, if you will, as of September 30. So the next page, 27, represents all of the combined debt service requirements related to these bonds, and these pay off in the year 2040. So if you look at the very far right column, it says total. So over time through 2040, you're going to pay principal and interest a little over $10 million. All right, so page 27 begins the pension footnote information. So this is information that is provided directly to us via TCDRS. This information is audited by the national accounting firm of KPMG. They have these experts in this field that compiles this information, disseminates it, if you will, out through TCDRS, which disseminates it to the various counties. So this information, again, is provided directly to us by them. And we as auditors that do not have the expertise in this field, we are required to document that these individuals, whether it be KPMG, obviously they're well qualified, or there's a entity called Milliman Inc. out of Seattle, Washington, which are actuaries. They're well versed in this area of calculating these numbers. So if you look over on page 31, you see a statement here which represents, if you look at the very far right column, the very bottom number, $988,000. This is the net pension liability related to the county as of September 30. And in some terminology, this is what we would, in some terminology, be an unfunded liability out there.
If you go to the top of that column where it shows it as of December of 17 of 409,000, the implication is it's increased by what, 500 and
that is correct.
$8,000 over the year.
That is correct. Yes, those, and who knows what's going to happen with the way the markets are now by this time next year. So, but yes, that is the number. Now, TCDRS basically says that if a county were to terminate existence and there is no more retirement benefits to be paid out or no more retirees, there is a number out there that they can't really calculate until they know when that drop date is, if you will. But assuming this 988 is a number, and this number will vacillate and will change each and every year, but there is a 20-year payout that can occur to pay this out if it has to be done. So it's a big number. And again, it increased over 500,000 from the previous year.
Is it likely to increase this next year?
I believe it will. Yes, sir.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
So this is a big component, obviously, in these audits. But yes, this information, again, is provided directly to us, and we are, as your independent auditor, are required to put this into the footnotes of the entity, if you will. All right, so moving over to page 34. This is a disclosure as it relates to tax abatements, item D. So during this tax roll year, if you want to call it that, tax roll year 2018, which is incorporated into the 18-19 audit, there were tax abatements out there with Goldthwaite Wind Energy. And if you look at the very far right number, a total of $612,000 in taxes was abated. And then right below that, the paragraph, the bigger paragraph right above item E, in this next fiscal year, which will be tax roll year 2019, you will then also incorporate 2 additional contractual agreements into existence, if you will. So that information will then be provided to us next year as it relates to the audit. And then right below that, item E, Emergency Medical Services Agreement. This is related to your agreement with Hamilton County Hospital District, where they provide emergency medical services, and this is your agreement as to what you will pay out in the various fiscal years. Page 35 is a budget comparison schedule for your general operating fund. No issues there. And then 36 is your road and bridge fund comparison. 37, law enforcement. Again, there were no issues, no budget overages, anything that had to be reported there on these items. And I'm going to skip on over to page, we talked about the pension information. Page 43 is a schedule of your certificate of deposits and the U.S. Treasury notes. So in your governmental funds, which is your law enforcement, general operating, the various funds, you had CDs of 220,000. You had Treasury notes in the general fund of and I'm rounding 1.4 million. Law enforcement fund, 400,000. So a total CDs and investments in the various governmental funds is a little over $2 million. And then below that is your CDs held in your county and district clerk, the fiduciary funds. And then skip on over another page or two. There's a letterhead page. This report is a report on internal control over financial reporting. So basically what this letter represents is there's certain internal control aspects that should be in place. And no issues came to our attention that required to be reported as an internal control issue as it relates to the audit of the county. So when we go through these audits, there's certain things that we look at, and I'm not gonna address everything we look at, but we read things like the county commissioner minutes. We look to see that the tax rates are approved, that 941s are filed timely, your TCDRS reports filed timely. We confirm bank balances directly with the bank and not rely directly with personnel in the county offices themselves. So we go to a third party. We also confirm these tax rates and valuations directly with Mills Central Appraisal District. We review fidelity bonds. So we test transactions to ensure that they are properly approved. You have dual signatures on checks, things of that nature. So that encompasses just some brief things that we do in these audits. We just ensure compliance with basic governmental control issues, or if there were any issues. When we refer to in these audits, management, see in a small county government like yourself, you have management, direct management really is going to be the county judge with the county treasurer for the most part. And then the county commissioners obviously have oversight, is the oversight body to the county itself. So that's kind of give you a little idea of the things that we see in these county governments. Your county government, as far as your internal control structure, with your limited segregation of duties, this is probably as good as you're going to get. You know, with Tarina obviously being a CPA, that lends credibility, but it doesn't necessarily mean that everything's perfect because she's a CPA. And so it still goes back to the county commissioners to render oversight and to make sure there's things such as there's accountability, reporting is done correctly, things of that nature. So there is a certain level of oversight by the county commissioners as it relates to management, if you will.
So what you're saying is our management is very well done right now.
Absolutely. There's a certain level that we as auditors have to maintain what they call our buzzword of professional skepticism. So as an example, if we go and ask a question of someone in, let's say, Tarina's office, or if it's the school district, a business manager, things of that nature, we don't necessarily take what they say at face value per se. In other words, we've got to say, okay, this is what they said. Now let's go make sure that what they said is actually what's being done or what we see. So we go to source documents, things of that nature to ensure. So as an example, Tarina, are your bank accounts reconciled? Sure they are. But we actually go test those bank reconciliations. And we ensure that they are accurate, that they are properly reflected, and that they agree to your books, the county's books and records. So things of that nature. It's kind of a little joke. We do a lot of counties, we do a lot of cities, we do a lot of school district audits, and Tarina is the one, and I'm not saying anything in regards to Tarina. Wish she wasn't here, but I'll tell it anyway. It's kind of a joke in my office that if we make an adjustment to the books, you better have a good reason why, because Tarina's going to ask you about it, which is a good thing. Don't get me wrong. It makes our job better. It makes her job better, and it makes honestly, it's a very good feeling having someone in that capacity as controlling of the county's district's books and records. So y'all are in a good shape. Good shape.
Well, it is concerning when you talked about the pension to me.
Yes, sir.
That is a little bit scary.
Yeah, I asked for that to be a focus because I'm concerned that it's really worse than it appears for several reasons. One is the liability is a function of a bunch of assumptions about future events, and the assumptions in the TCDRS are somewhat more liberal than you see in the industry as a whole. And the fact that this report shows investment losses in this year being the one the report's based on, that would be 17 or 18, I believe, Wayne. Yeah. And I'm just concerned with interest rates being down and markets being down. This is going to be much worse in years to come. So
their losses are huge losses. They're not just little losses. They're
yes.
big losses.
So Tarina and I, as we work through the budget, are trying to figure a way to chip. I mean, you can't fix this all at once, but we got to start finding a way to address it so somebody down the line doesn't wake up with a huge problem.
Yeah, if you look at the previous year, not this fiscal year audit, but the previous fiscal, there was actually investment gains of over $700,000. And thus your liability was way down. And so when those investment losses came into fruition this year, that turned, and thus your liability went way up. So that's why we're seeing partially that $500,000 increase in the liability this year.
And like you said earlier, it could do the same thing next year with the market the way it is right now.
Yes, sir.
Well, overall, I think it's a good report that reflects well on the county's financial systems and investment policies. Trina, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, sir.
Any questions from the commissioners or county attorney?
I want to say thank you for doing our audit for us.
Thank you. So it's actually a little privilege to get to come down to Gothway. We like it down there.
We'd like to hear that.
Well, thank you, Wayne. This isn't listed for any action because we've already accepted this report. This was informational. And Wayne, you're welcome to stick around and watch us work, but if I understand if you don't, and we appreciate your time.
Well, thank you. And actually, I need to go get busy. I've got other things I need to work on today. So y'all have a good day. And if you have any questions at any time, please call or email, and we'll be happy to help. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's go back on the agenda order then with the consent agenda. We have our usual first of the month reports. We have the monthly report from the county treasurer. Highlights on it, I'd tell you, we're on the first page, the disbursements in the month, 510,000. And then it's kind of an interesting metric on the second page. There's a list of all the county debt, and it's 6.8 million. And look at it, we only have one piece of equipment debt left. It looks like one more payment. And past that, we're down to the community center and the bonds. There's the accounts payable report that everyone should have received from Joy electronically on Friday. I had a couple of questions. Before I move away from the treasurer's report, did anybody have any questions they'd like to direct to Trina about the treasurer's report? Okay, on accounts payable, I see a couple of precincts buying road material, or at least it's categorized as road material at S&S, and this is just an educational question. I was curious as to what road material they sold out there.
On my,
We got 10
I
homes.
have it, I don't think I do this time, it's like you're buying a tin horn,
I see. Okay,
putting a tin horn on it, and stuff like that.
got it.
With my precinct, with precinct 3, but I haven't bought one, but I'm fixing to.
Yeah, that explains it.
So on page 4, under S&S, you'll see one of those bills, it says precinct 4, but it's under precinct 1. That is something that needs to, the $21.95 will be moved to precinct 4.
On the, I think it's in the sheriff's department, there's a whole lot of drug screen expense, like $2,600. Chris, is that a one-time annual screen of the employees, or is this a whole lot of evidence coming in?
It's evidentiary stuff. Also, one of the big ticket items was the DA calling the lab tech to testify in trial. That was one of the bigger ticket items.
I see. Any other questions on the accounts payable?
I have none.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have none.
Oh, okay.
I have none. So.
Commissioner Wright, any questions on payables?
No questions. It looks good to me.
Okay. There's the monthly appraisal district collection reports, the next several pages. Point out a little analysis at the bottom of it. This is showing we're collected about 89.5% of our tax billings through the end of April. the big issue that's out there is the Sherryland tax dispute, which in the aggregate is about $360,000 of taxes, ignoring penalties and interest. If you factor that in to try and see how we stand it, separate apart from the dispute, we would be at 97.4% and have about 97,000 of other uncollected taxes left ahead of us. That 97.4% is about where we usually run in April. The Sherryland dispute, they filed an appeal at the 11th hour in the district court. So we'll just have to wait to see how that works its way to the top of Judge Ellis's docket. Have report here now from the departments. Tom Guthrie's extension agent report. See, limited travel, 33 miles. The monthly sheriff's department report, 209 total calls for service. About 69% of it is law enforcement related. The rest of it is EMS and fire and miscellaneous. You see no new jail bookings in April, some civil process served, and then look at the very bottom of it, the out-of-county housing. That's the prisoner boarding in the jail. $8,600 was billed for April. As y'all recall, when we talked about the mid-year budget, we expect to run significantly behind in prisoner boarding for the rest of the year. The Justice of the Peace report, the usual multi-page report. It shows on the first page, 27 new cases filed, 16 of them were traffic. Shows dispositions, total dispositions, 39 traffic cases and 6 other cases. So made a chip in the cases outstanding, but at the end of the month, there's 1,808, of which 873 are active. Believe on the last page of the report, you'll see the financial impact. Total fees and fines, $8,621, with $6,300 collected by the county. Again, this is something it's running behind budget and is likely to continue to run behind until operations get back to normal on all levels. My office, see 1 septic permit and 1 book sale for the Historic Commission. Interestingly, the septic stuff appears to be picking up. I think we had 3 in last week. So with the warm weather or the lift in the stay home orders around the state, activities picking up there. The EMS reports for the city and the county are in here. You can see the average response time in the city across all calls was a little over 5 minutes and 13 minutes for the county. There's a dotted line. That's the target average to be maintained by the contract. In both cases, you'll see a couple of instances that exceed that. The averages are still well within it. One of the longest calls we looked into, and it was a case where there was not a 9/11 address sign on a residence out in the county. So it just highlights the importance of making sure people get the 911 addresses and then put up the signs. It's not something we've emphasized much in a long time.
And also, it looks like on that case, that was a busy day.
Yeah.
That day, they had 6 cases that day.
Yeah, there were several call times when multiple ambulances were working. And in one of the city calls that took so long, it's just on the wrong report. When you look at the address, it was Hamilton County past Welch Lake. VSO report, 5 veterans served, like mostly paperwork. There's no traveling back and forth to the VA right now. They are working only remotely. Any other discussion on the monthly reports?
If none, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
I'll second it.
We have a motion from Commissioner Hall and a second from Commissioner Williams to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. Okay, consider and act this number 4 on the net data license agreement. This is the software that is run by the Justice of the Peace Department. It was installed in, I think it was 2012. It's a combination of case tracking and billing and correspondence. We have been without an agreement for a number of years. It's been sort of a year-to-year thing. The bill has gone up every year, and they have come in recently and proposed a 3-year license at a fixed rate that we're currently paying and no increase for 3 years. So that made it worth pursuing. The Justice of the Peace is established on the system, is familiar with it, and likes it, wants to continue. So we were presented a contract that had a couple of questions in it, and so which are outlined in your package. Let me get to my right pile of paper. Okay, well, here we go. We have, Karina caught this, we've already paid it for this calendar year. So we're proposing to have the contract start in January. So we continue with the year we have. The annual fee we have been paying, it's really a software maintenance fee. There's no physical assets involved, is $4,745. So 3 years of that starting in calendar 2021. And we're adding a non-appropriation section because this is a multi-year agreement. So our obligation to pay it is based on it being budgeted in each year. And with that, that was the recommendation from, it was the recommendation of Justice of the Peace to create the contract and fix the rate. Karina and I have been over the terms, and with these modifications, that's our recommendation to do. Glad to try and answer any questions.
This don't go from fiscal year to fiscal year. This goes from January to January.
Correct.
Okay.
So we've already
instead of the fiscal year.
Yeah, we've already paid. You're right.
It's in our budget though.
Yes, right now our budget runs out in September, but we have already paid in this fiscal year.
Okay, so
through
it
December.
needs to be in our new budget.
Correct.
Budget this. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Gerald, have you had a chance to look at the agreement?
Mike, I haven't looked at it, but I don't know. I mean, I've seen a jillion of these. I guess I'm not too concerned about it.
Well, it sounds like to me, Judge, you have some corrections on this. Have they agreed to these corrections or no? That you and Trina trade?
I've talked it over with them. They believe that that is the intent of everybody. They don't think it's necessary to be in the contract, but I do.
Okay,
They've sent us email confirming all of these things, but my plan was to, when we send the contract back in, assuming approval, to have the amendments included with it.
okay.
You feel comfortable with it, Judge?
I'm not real close to the software. All I can tell you is that the JP is, and you know, they've been using it since 2012. We see the reports in here. It appears to be fairly detailed. It meets the requirements for the OCA reporting. So that's about all I can say.
My experience with these things, if you're happy with the software and you're happy with the support that you're getting, that's the bottom line. And of course, the problems that we've had in the past is you don't get any support. You pay the fee and you call and they say, oh, that's not covered. But if JP's office is happy with it, I think it'd be okay.
Karina, have you heard anything otherwise from Kim?
No, I think she's happy with it.
I'll confirm that one more time. This whole thing started with her
She brought the contract.
taking it down to Trina to ask to get it documented. She's usually here, but no, I don't see her on the Zoom right now.
If everybody seems to be happy with it, then I don't see a problem with it as far as just the agreement itself. We make the corrections once we receive them. I'll make a motion to approve the net data license agreement.
I'll second it.
We have a motion from Commissioner Wright, a second from Commissioner Hall. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Number 6, consider an act on a countywide outdoor burn ban. We've had a couple of commissioners suggest this, and I received a call from David Swartz Friday asking us to consider it. The input from Swartz was the number of call-outs they've received recently, the intermittent high winds, the drying conditions, the dead winter grass that's still standing, and that's been a strain on the volunteer fire departments.
I agree with it, to put the burn ban on 100%. Bud Webb called me last Thursday and or Tuesday, I guess, and asked if I could get it on the agenda, and I told him it was already on the agenda. So the Mullen and Pretty Fire Department, I think they're ready for it.
Did y'all hear that?
No.
Jed moved that. Jed's having speaker problems. But anyway, Jed just moved that we do it for 90 days, put the fire ban on for 90 days. And I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I would propose to use just the standard ban on outdoor burning we've used the last several times. We've got it all ready to post on the website. Is there any other discussion?
Is this a motion to make for the 90 days or the?
It's
until.
Well,
it's safe to burn again.
I believe under the statute, we can only put it in place for 90 days.
Okay, that's fine.
So
that's fine.
Yeah, we can, from talking to Swartz, if we get a wet spell, he's more than willing to lift it either temporarily or permanently, but I think we're getting into summer. Well, anyway, we had a motion from Commissioner Guerin, a second from Commissioner Williams. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We will put that on the website and distribute it to the Eagle shortly after the meeting. Chief Deputy Green, if you would inform dispatch, we'll send you a copy of it.
Yes, sir.
Number 7, consider an act Sheriff Department watch guard in-car video system as scrap. Is this the same system we did last month? I mean,
It's another identical system. We're finally able to flush these last 2 systems out. It's an identical unit, same issues, no parts, no support. It's just worn out. So
which vehicle is it in?
it's not in any of them right now. We've this came out of one of the vehicles that we traded in on the new purchase that we just did. So we have to strip all the equipment out of it. It's of no use to us.
Both these units have the same serial number, same serial number?
The numbers I could get off of it's the same tag.
I just noticed it was the same serial number on this than it was the last meeting. We had the same serial number. That's unusual.
It's, you know, they have one tag on the main unit, and that's the numbers I pulled off of. So I'm not sure how that works. I thought the same thing, but that's what's on it.
Well,
It is.
we get to a motion. Let's be clear in our motion that this is a second unit with the same serial or model number, so we don't have an audit trap down the line for having approved one twice and sold 2.
I'll make the motion then that we declare as scrap the Sheriff's Department Watch Guard in-car video system model DV1D and serial number is WGA00400-100 as scrap, and this is the same serial number as the last one we declared. That is my motion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion from Commissioner Williams, a second from Commissioner Wright. Is there any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, with some delay, that's unanimous. That's the business portion of the agenda. Let's go to commissioners' requests and reports. Commissioner Wright.
Precinct 1, we've been busy doing road work. We've had a transmission go out on our small dump truck. We've had to replace batteries on our dump truck, on our D6 dozer. I'm gonna have to start looking at replacing my dump trucks. I have one that's 34 years old, one that's 27 years old, and the other is 25 years old. So I'll probably be looking at that in the next few months. That's all I have.
Commissioner Hall.
We've been cleaning the fence row on 124 and 120, working on County Road 262, retopping some of it. Mr. Chris Smith from the Highway Department, XDOT, called me this morning on milling off of the highway, which is stockpiled up at Pompey Creek, which is Ledson's welding shop. He's they're wanting to offer it to the county. I don't know how many of them. I've never used any of it, but they're kind of wanting the county to look at it. All commissioners need to go look at it and see what they come up with. But they're thinking it's going to be $5 a yard, which I personally think it's probably a little bit too high for what it is. So we'll all look at it and see, and we can determine, and I'll get back with Chris on what we decide to do. But they're wanting to kind of maybe use this as our
allotment,
which I'm not really fond of that. But anyway, they want us to look at it and see and go from there.
Okay, so do we need to put that on next agenda then, maybe?
Well, I don't know if everybody's got a chance to go look at it and everything, we might put it on next agenda and see. But it's available if we want it. But if we don't want it, I think they're just gonna have to do something else with it. But it's the millings that come off here in Main Street and 83 and 84. Some of it's got some base in it. I have not looked at it personally up close. I've just seen it piled over, and I don't know if it will be any good or not. He claims to think that you can put it down, roll it in with water, and it'll be okay. I can't tell you that. So that's what I'm getting at right there.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, if you guys want to take a look at it and have an opinion, give me a holler. If we want to act on it, we'll put it on for our agenda in 2 weeks. And if nobody wants it, I don't know that we need to take an action.
No,
Commissioner Guerin?
I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Can y'all hear him?
Not very well. Can you translate?
I'll try. I'll do my best if you can hear him.
Okay. Oh, we completed County Road 313, replating it. It's completed. Removed fence on County Road 250, and then we got some to remove on County Road 239.
They're doing road work on 250 and 249 and doing some more road work. And that's about all he's doing.
Okay. Commissioner Williams?
Pretty busy this last couple weeks. Right of way work on County Road 531. Hauled off all the old culverts that we declared as scrap months ago. Done some shredding, run the shredder on 529, 527, 508. Done equipment repair, kind of like Mike, just it hit us all of a sudden. With some of these big winds, we've had some tree removals that we've had to go out and get after hours. Met with the county attorney, and we got a new landowner out my way that's got a gate on the road. We're having to deal with that a little bit. Made those, told him he put a lock on the gate basically, and we told him to take it off. So, and that has been done. But he's going to look into maybe researching maybe abandoning the end of that road or something like that and bringing that to court. So that could be coming up in the near future. Also visited with the TxDOT Victoria McKee. I asked her, Ms. McKee, I asked her on the TIF grant if we could, we have to put them in a priority list on those grants. And the requirement says to list them prioritized. She says we can list them however we want, and if we want to change them, we just have to let them know once we get the grant, we have to go back in and change that to which one we're going to do. So if we putting a cement low water crossing in, and then we decide we're wanting to do something else that comes up before we get the grant in the next 6 months or year, we just let them know. So we can change our priority list after we turn in the grant application is what I'm saying. So that was good news to hear. You don't have to just go by what we put down on the list as number one. And other than that, getting ready for another week.
That's good news on the TxDOT grant front, because we pulled in the road projects from all the precincts, and I want to thank everybody for doing that. And we came up with a list of about 20. It was scattered across all precincts, and it was hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of work, which is good. That's what we want to turn in a high number. But rather than sort through 19 projects and try and agree on, priority 1, priority 2, priority 3, if we can get started on the grant and then shuffle them once we know how much money we have, I think that's a much more productive use of our time. We're not going to have to allocate for money we're not going to get. Got a report from Texas Workforce Commission on unemployment claims. It's kind of interesting. For April, we have 76 claims in Mills County, and that's not a big number, but it's 4% unemployment rate according to Workforce, and it compares, usually we have somewhere between 2 and 5. So the shutdowns during the month of April have significantly ballooned the unemployment filings in the county. The other thing that I'd like everybody's help on is the census. It has been pushed aside a little bit by the pandemic and the stay home orders, but it's still out there and it's still going on. Mills County has 30% self-reporting as of Friday. Self-reporting means where individuals have either filled out the written form and mailed it in, done it online or through a phone call. To give you some examples, last time, 2010, the self-reporting rate in Mills County ultimately reached 50%. If you look at our local neighborhood, San Saba, which is usually a bellwether for us, is at 34, almost 35%. And the counties like Brownwood and Hamilton are much higher. So we are still on a low end of the local, but when Commissioner Wright brought this up a couple of weeks ago, I think we were at 19%. So it's come up. We ran an ad in the paper, I believe it was last week, with the link for citizens to go out and do it. We now have on the front page of the county website a link that if you, as you talk to people, get them to go there and just click on it, takes them right into the census filing information. They don't need to have a little magic card and a PIN number. They just go in there and fill it out for their household. And you guys know how this is important. Obviously, has to do with our voice in the legislature at the state, federal level, but more importantly, it has to do with how grant money gets allocated. So we don't need to have any more shrinkage in our population than we'll get on our own. So if you would encourage people to not wait for it in the mail, because it's not going to come in the mail anymore. It's just, and the census workers may be really slow getting out with the disease concerns. So if they could just go to this website, and I think the library will help them with it if they don't have access, and you can do it through a smartphone, or a phone call even. But you just encourage people to register the census information. That's all I have. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Okay, Commissioner Hall beats you, Commissioner Wright, so you can second
I'll
it.
second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah, then you're.
A lot better than mine.